the Aurora Community Center. Purpose initially here of a series of meetings is to hold an agenda setting meeting of the council. And this is not an action portion of the agenda, just simply staff and the city council a chance to get updated on some matters and in some cases get some more information on the agenda items that will be subject to action at the time the city council meeting commences at 4:30. So let's see, we don't have to do a roll call now? No, all right. So with that, for those introductory words, we'll move to our agenda setting business agenda. And staff appearance, I understand our librarian Jen is away or unavailable, and in her place, as usual, is Councilor Jensen to relate the library report.
It isn't a whole lot. You notice a smooth move of technology here, I see. The library will be closed tomorrow, the 2nd, for repairs to the ceiling again. They will reopen on the 3rd for Independence Day crafts, makes and takes. Our makes and takes will be in the library from 10 to 5. And bike decorating for the parade will happen in the museum from 3 to 5. The summer reading program has been successful so far. The last day will be July 19th for the party from 10:30 to 1:30. We'll have dinosaurs visiting us on July 18th at 1 in the library. This event is paid for through the Aurora Library System and the Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund. The anniversary celebration was great and people loved it. The prizes were awarded and surveys have been completed. You're still able to complete the survey through July 4th.
Yeah, you get what?
So minus tomorrow, obviously. That's it.
Well,
Librarian.
as always, there's a lot of activities going on there. Thank you, Councilor Hanson. Let's see, moving next to, let's see, city administrator, maybe you could say what order you're going, city attorney maybe.
I don't really have anything unless somebody's got questions about the agenda tonight.
And then just for an update, the attorney referenced that he and the deputy clerk have been discussing how to expedite consideration of that property transaction on the north end of the industrial park that came up at the meeting the other day, and to see how we can be legally and fiscally responsible at the same time, right now the business gets put hold in the area there.
For the update, Joe Lewicki is the one who's a real estate guy that we're working on that. Lindsay came, saw me, and met with Joe this morning, so kind of told him times of the essence to get something done. It's kind of a unique situation, with some questions about leasing short term, if you're gonna try to build something on there, and they'll work that out.
Well, that's why we employ the great minds of the legal community to make sure that we can do that as expeditiously and as safely as possible. So we'll look forward to the input from the Joel working. I assume that Lindsay, you'll be primarily contact there.
Did Joel give any kind of an idea of how long it would
I gave him till next Friday.
take? Thank you.
All right. So any other legal matters or that's it? That's it. So let's see. Move before Josh takes the floor. Anything else? Maybe just an update, by the way, on the recruitment committee. I passed out a copy of a kind of report from the committee and some recommendations. And there'll probably be some more supplemental materials. And then we've also got an updated copy of the resolution 2025-48 regarding assessments. Everyone can receive a copy of that then. All right, so I think we'll get that. Pardon?
I don't have that.
I don't have that.
You have it.
Oh, that was at the end. Okay. Sure, City Administrator.
So there's a couple things on the resolution tonight. The treasury rate did move to 4.25%, so you could look to amend the treasury rate. There's been some discussion about that. One other thing, you do move forward with the assessments later, there's a resident, Jan Young, who has 3 parcels. And currently would have 3 separate assessments because there's 3 parcel IDs. But she's been working with the county and working with the city to try and combine those. And she was prepared to do that by today. Unfortunately, her sister is on one of the parcels, which is kind of mucking it up a little bit. So we would, if you would adopt it later today, we would ask that we put give her maybe till the end of July or August to get her situation. So we would approve the role, continue on, join, taking care of her legal affairs with combining the PIDs. Because we do want to be fair to her. She's combining the parcels and she's not going to have different multiple smells, and that's how she's going to use her property. We should accommodate her for that.
That'll actually be good for future development too, that there is one parcel where there's 3 smaller ones there.
And that neighborhood is particularly small.
Yeah.
So there's that. Some other updates that I have is we did sign, Mr. Mayor and I had a closing on Monday for the property up at the water tower, which we can use for the new water line in 2026. So that's done. The city should be owning that now. Community center, it's gone very well so far. It's really hitting its stride. The windows up above are kind of holding up, finishing the siding right now. With their original, and in order for them to seal the windows, they had to take them out. And then we didn't want to put windows back in that were original from 1890, since these have all been replaced. So we asked for a price for them to come back on it. They gave us prices of windows that had brick molding around it. And we don't want brick molding, we want just inserts to match these, and then we're gonna put our own trim around it. So their goal was to get done by the 4th. I think they got as far as they could get with what we've got. We're waiting on the windows to replace those. Also, this door back here, there was a big double door in the back, steel door that needed to be replaced. We elected to go with a smaller single door. It's still going to be plenty wide to get appliances and things like that out of, but lead time on that is about August, so that's why that back is not going to be sited until consider. So that's all been approved. We're just waiting on that door to get here. We've added to the scope of the project completely painting all the interior, so that the entire interior is completely freshen it up. There's also in the entryway or the greeting way, whatever we would call it in there. In order for the new rubber roof membrane to get a 20-year warranty, they had to use fasteners that were X long. And there wasn't enough material there, so the fasteners were all sticking by the roof. So we'll have to sheet rock over that, and they'll dress that up and we dress up Chris. I just want to say that because if you're looking at it and say, look, we realize that too. So we're going to price it that cleaned up in there. Other than that, the AV system is included in the price. There's about $40,000 in work there. That's electrical work in there and new microphones and speakers and things like that. So community center project is moving along very, very well. We also had a community meeting, Councilor Hess was at, and Megan, our on-site engineering technician for Community Drive last night. That was just for the residents of Erie Street Community Drive. We're flooding the immediate property lines of the easement. It was just for specific site construction issues such as temporary water. We have a fire hydrant out there, and then how do the residents get their water? How does that work? There were some things like people's sheds that are in the easement, so we have to move their sheds out of the area. So we're talking about how we do that and time to get that. Where the easement is, where the pipe is going in relation, how are we going to feed their houses for sewer lines and things like that? Who's the contact if they've got a question or someone's trespassing or seeding and final finish grading and so on and things like that. So it was just try to be a little more upfront with them and get them who the contractor is, who's doing the work out there, and just really look at the owners and that.
This is a pretty good turnout for the meeting.
I think I'd say that at least half of them showed up. I would think. There's only 14 houses that are on there, but there was probably a dozen people that showed up last night.
Well,
I don't like everything to add to it, but
other misunderstandings, everything is pretty good.
We've got pretty much covered it, like I said, it was for the people that live there because they're the ones that are in contact with it, so. there's some questions in it, we got all answered. Maybe done a good job for both in, I think. Have everything.
Well,
We've done these in the past too. We had for the for the sewer line camera, we set up behind Radish Lumber, and we had public information. We set a kiosk up there. You by the residents, hey, come on over. This is what we're doing. Get signed up. So we're trying to get on site, look at the construction areas, for the neighborhood, rather than just through City Hall. When people come and say, how can we be more transparent, how can we communicate, we do Shopper, we do Facebook, and we do all kinds of postings, at City Hall. Getting on the neighborhood is just another way. Not one of the ways we can get everybody, but maybe do multiple ways we try to get as many people. So, try to do a little more.
yeah, I think we're learning as we're going. We're heading into some tumultuous times, so it seems like the lessons that are learned and you're applying there. And fortunately, as long as weather permits, it's a little difficult to do those kind of meetings in January or something. But yeah,
There's also a couple on North Erie that probably get theirs televised once you get hooked into it too, so they wanna know what's in their system.
yeah.
Now's the time to do it, because you make it all out, so.
The last thing I want to talk about, and I don't want to go all the time here, but the last thing I want to talk about is the warming shack. And it's not just a warming shack, it is the Pine Grove Recreational Building. We've been working with multiple donors and funders on this project, and we have not recognized them publicly yet, but we will have a groundbreaking ceremony relatively soon. But Adolphson and Peterson has donated their labor and in-kind services. We had a meeting with them last Friday, very well. They're going to do the flat cement work and also build the structure for us, and we donated that labor in kind. That is the company that built the industrial company. And they came to us and said, hey, you have a community project that we can help you with. And that's kind of where it spurred from. Yes, we do have a community project, this is what we need to do. We took the winner to write grants. Wrote the grant to the IRRB and received $30,000 in culture and tourism grants from the IRRB. They were a partner with us. Wrote a grant to New Range Copper Nickel and received $10,000 from Copper Nickel. They are a partner with us. Wrote a grant to Essentia Health, received $10,000 from them. They are a partner with us. Wrote a grant to Minnesota Power, received a $10,000 grant from them. They are a partner with us. I would also like to recognize Golden Lake, who did all of the architectural design in kind. I'm guessing there'll be some more kind services that we'll be asking and getting in the future of that. But so the design and architectural stuff was done in kind, and also where there's something sold, Design Tree offered to do the plumbing work and submit that to Dole. That was done in kind. So it really is going to be a community project. These people are reaching out to us and just heard about it and gained a lot of momentum. It's going to be a beautiful building when it's done. There'll be a Zampolin garage on one side of it where we can store our hoses and use it to let the rain in the winter time. There's also going to be a building in there which has a change room for a splash pad, which is sort of needed. It's going to have lockers and storage areas for people. It's going to have tables in there so people can have birthday parties. It's going to have an area where you can go for inclement weather. If there was something going on and just a shower was going over, you can go inside and get out of the room for it. It's going to be a warming shack in the wintertime for kids to go in and warm up and for the ice rink. So it's truly going to be a seasonal year-round building that the entire community and region, because the splash pad is a regional destination, will be able to use. And it's going to be a very big success story with all of these funding partners that have really helped us out. So it's pretty awesome. That's fun to come together.
Yeah, I think probably Deputy Clerk and I mentioned that to some people at the Lake Minnesota conference, and those kind of projects are so enviable that poster childs for how small communities can pull them off. Great job on you working with all of those potential or those actual funding sources. Yeah. How big, really, relative to this facility here was? What are we talking about dimensions?
It will not be this big.
No, I hope not.
No, it's a single stall garage, so about 24 feet by about 16 feet. And then other buildings can be about 20 by 14 or something like that. So it'll be nice, insulated, two heaters, gas, heat both buildings, and it'll be really nice. It's gonna match the appearance of the shelter that's down there already, so we're kind of playing with the theme. The other idea is that we will put an electrical plug-in on the side, a couple sides probably, so that Celebrate Aurora band shell can hook up to it, and you could have concerts on there where the parking lot is. You could have people sitting up with lawn chairs and have music down there, and people could use the parking lot. I'm not gonna steal your thunder. What did you have to say? No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I made the suggestion that we should probably look at getting a farmer's market established back down there, once that building's going. I think that'd be an excellent place, because the kids can go to the park and play, with a splash pad, especially in summer when it's open, and that would just be all encompassing.
So, there's gonna be something pretty easy to have. So.
And the bike trail will go right down there.
Right in front of it. Right. The Saudi trail will right by it. Yep, and our trail downtown.
Yeah, we're looking to complete it by November 30th, I think.
Yep.
The date is that we've given. to everybody.
Those are my updates.
City engineer, yeah, thank you.
I'll,
How much time do we have?
13 minutes.
Okay.
I don't think I'll need all 13. Just update on the industrial park from a construction perspective. The building's nearing final completion. I think they said August or early August today. They would have, everything done and buttoned up on the building, clean, final inspections, walk through all of that. So we're narrowing in on that. The street will be early September before that's completed. They're about halfway up to the north side of the property with the sanitary sewer. The water main is into kind of where the cul-de-sac was supposed to go. Obviously, we pulled the cul-de-sac out from a wetland permitting standpoint. But the water is in up to that point. I would anticipate probably the next 2 weeks we'll have all the utilities in and start to build the roads. So, well on track to meet that September timeline. So overall going good, no major change orders because of whatever. So I have to go on that project.
Well, so is there going to be anticipated some kind of a reserve or residual amount if the project does come in on time and on budget there that will be used in other parts of the industrial park, or I mean, I guess I don't remember talking about that really, and you don't have a crystal ball to know if it's going to turn
The
out.
goal is always to try and end up with $500,000 for the future tenant. So if the future tenant wants to build a little office space, because there's not any offices in there right now. And we are gonna, with the open house, we'll be able to show people inside. It is indeed just a show right now with a concrete floor. So they'll be able to build office spaces, bathrooms, if they have a crane they want to put in them, the crane rails in there, but we don't have the actual cranes, so that's really good for training with that. So there always was some ideas, some funding left over.
It does seem like we're trending towards having funding really. So in the CMAR contract, they have a 5% contingency. I think it was just under $500,000. There's some other potential savings in there, some stuff that we've worked through, and so as of right now, I haven't count your chickens yet, but it does appear like we're trending closer to $500,000 in contingency remaining when the project's over.
Are they done moving that old dump, Josh? Or is there still material that needs to be moved?
They're still moving material. So if you remember, we had a contamination potential that we're working through. So we have NTS out there screening materials as they're moving, just making sure we're not moving contaminated material, creating an issue elsewhere. And so what that's going to do is absolve us of any liability if someone were to build on that in the future. They can't put the paper and say, hey, you put this factor here. So.
And that's that bad stuff was based on that railroad grade that was there?
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. So they found basically, what's that?
Area, right?
Well, so when they were doing borings, they detected vapor, and basically it was like a brake cleaner and diesel fuel off gassing somewhere. And so we don't know where that's coming from. We just know it's coming through. So it kind of acts like a conduit for those vapors, and they can be emitted. They can drill a hole somewhere. The barrel can be over at the copper nickel, and we can drill a hole here and detect that vapor. So.
We are enlisted in the Brownsville program with the MPCA, so we're working through all of that. That's why when you drive up there, you see all the piles that are there, just because we're following the Brownsville program.
And we are setting it up to recapture some of these costs too through the state as well. So they have a program. Jake Crispo, who's my project manager, helping on this, he's a little more well versed in that program. But, I'm being told that there is potential to recapture.
And then brownfields?
Correct.
Like 6 figures.
Correct. I don't want to throw a number out there just to, I don't want to get hopes up.
Right.
It is a sizable. So,
Do we have an estimated date for the open house? Like, this month?
Middle of August right now. Yep. That's just a good ballpark timeline, give or take 10 days.
You know, the way the streets will be done, or the building.
It's a lot of it's weather dependent, right? Some other stuff is weather dependent, and then also testing. As the testing comes back, as soon as the tile get cleared, they're going up and getting graded out. Yeah. So
And the status of a tenancy is still in the hands of the action board, right?
it is.
Yeah. Okay.
couple other updates, Mr. Mayor. CASA 100, we met with the county a couple weeks ago. Just an updated schedule on that, so we're still targeting a 2026 project. Very likely a 2-year project. The county is still accepting us with open arms to bid this as one contract, even with the school project and all of our other stuff we don't do. And so they're committed to working with us, and so I guess the schedule as it stands today is we're looking to submit everything to MnDOT the first of the year for their review. So because we have state funds, so we have the SRTS, the LRIP, we have to meet a state standard with those designs. And then the county with their project has to get reviewed by the state to make sure they meet the state standard. So we're targeting a January 1st to middle date or somewhere around there. I anticipate 4 to 6 weeks to get through that process. And then they would bid it shortly after.
And then a public hearing, when would that, any predictions on that at all?
So that's a good question. I would like to get through tonight, but then begin the process for assessments on that project. And so, as you recall, it starts with a petition by the council to initiate those proceedings. I would like to start that as soon as August potentially, which gives me time to prepare the report, bring the report sometime this fall. Sort of that, we have the first hearing sometime then, probably December, January, and then,
Just briefly, the assessment portions of that project will come in what areas? Are those the little stub side streets?
I would propose to assess any property along all of the project. So we're doing utility work along all of the project. So anyone directly abutting it is where I would start. We can always walk it back. So when we initiate the proceedings, we want to cast a wide net, because if we want to add someone in later, we have to circle back to the beginning and start over. We can't add them in halfway through the process.
I thought the Third Avenue properties abutting the assessment matter we have today on the alley, that those wouldn't be subject to assessment, or
That's how we're proposing it now. Correct.
so that would be an exception to the rule.
What about the safe streets to school, that piece?
I would propose including that as well. Yeah, I mean, there's
The ones on 4th Avenue that would be in this project. Like we're not gonna assess the alley residents who are on 4th and 3rd for the alley, and next year come back again. They're good questions that we can go through, but those are not, they're gonna be assessed this year.
one property to consider would be the school. They are being assessed with this project with the parking lot, but the school property itself is a different parcel, different land use type. So that'd be worth consideration of council if they want to go about that. Our policy is flexible in how we don't directly address how schools are assessed. Most communities assess them similar to commercial. But it's at the council's discretion on how you want to go about that.
Well, I hope we don't have to foreclose on a failure to pay an assessment at the school. Be a little embarrassing.
What one perception on that is the school district, right, casts a wider net. There's a lot of heavy users on the road going to the school, and so that's typically how communities have justified assessing that. As far as not double assessing properties with this, this project, as long as we initiate the proceedings without them in it, we can't pick them up later, so that can be overflowing. Double assessing people.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna want to go on with this. We'll see.
Let's see, other questions? from council, like, do you have more projects you want to report?
I can keep going, we have 4 minutes, I didn't think I'd need all this time. I guess I'll round it out with, the community drive project, they're gonna start digging, Monday, and then the same thing, I think, on Third Avenue, they're gonna start digging this week, Monday, so. We televised, I don't know, 15 or so services, I think there's, based on that televising, there's 6 or 8 we wanna repair. And then we had the mining contractor televised this week, they found a number of issues on the main line as well that need to get repaired before we mine as well. So I would anticipate there's probably 2 weeks of digging and mucking around to get everything up to snuff before we start building for the roadway.
And just in addition to this area, the residents that are aware of the impacts.
They should be, I mean, we've been sending letters, so.
Josh, is there still time for people to do, sort of scoping on the alleyway projects if they want to?
Very little, but yes. So that everyone
What's
see
the
it
cutoff date that you have?
probably Thursday.
Thursday?
If Northland is willing to work with us maybe a little longer, but I know they want to get going too, so.
Well, you're getting very efficient today. So we have 3 minutes now, so I will.
I'm done.
Let's see, as city administrator.
The only thing I would say is you might want to switch around your signatories and your administrator interim on the agenda, just because if you do either have a hiring interim administrator, that could take care of a lot of the signatories in the project.
Okay. And is also, Jordan, you're here mainly for the assessment or yeah? Okay. Counselors, anything else you want to add? Agenda setting portion here? If not, then why don't we, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councilor Kurquist, supported by Councilor Hanson, seeing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, agenda setting meeting is over and. All right, then, Cameron, we're ready, and, Second Clerk, we're ready to go? All right, so, let's see, it's now 4:30, and I call to order the regular meeting of the Aurora City Council, Tuesday, July 1st. We're meeting here at the Aurora Community Center because of other more community-centered comments and agenda matters, and it's 4:30 p.m. So with that, I'll call the meeting to order, and can we have a roll call, please?
Request.
Here.
Hanson. Here. Klosich. Here. Hessen.
Here.
Brendan.
Here. So we have the full council present, and we have a flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, keeping in mind the comments of the city administrator regarding a couple of the agenda items, nevertheless, I think we can proceed to address the consent agenda, which is the portion of the agenda where in one vote, a number of informational items and kind of routine business of the city matters are approved. It's agenda item 4 on the prepared agenda for the meeting, and the items that are considered in a consent agenda motion are those that are marked with an asterisk right after the numbers of each agenda item there. And I guess with those preliminary comments in mind, are there any councilors that want specific matters on the consent agenda removed for second consideration? All right, seeing none then, Entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Moved by Councilor Hess, supported by Councilor Hanson. So any further discussion or concerns? All right, if not, I think we're all here, we can do this by voice vote. Always in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The consent agenda is adopted. We have appearances and public forum in there. Is anyone in the audience wanting to appear in general and other than on the assessment matter, that just want to address an issue to the council? We have some opportunities and some rules, as always, to deal with those. But I don't see any hands going up, so, and we don't have any online capabilities here today. So, moving then on to reports from staff members in the preceding agenda.
I do have one, Doug.
Okay, city administrator.
Yeah, I do have one that I forgot to mention. We had an opportunity for our accounting clerk to go out to Columbus, Ohio, and participate with National Rural Water Association's Daycom program, which essentially is setting a curriculum for a national apprenticeship program for new utility billing clerks, essentially is what it is. There's a panel of 8 subject matter experts is what they call them. And I think it's pretty awesome that we had our own accounting clerk here from Aurora, Minnesota, Columbus, Ohio, on National Rural Water's sponsorship. So it didn't cost Aurora a cent to contribute her knowledge and gain knowledge from other subject matter experts. And hopefully people in the future will be able to benefit from her contributions. So I think that was pretty awesome.
Take a bow. Kimberly,
It was a good experience.
Fair to assume that you brought back a wealth of knowledge also from what other.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see, when they send us for review, the documentation and what comes out of everything that we had to say.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's great to, it takes some personal sacrifice of time and energies and everything also, so appreciate that on behalf of the city. Any other staff matters that we haven't brought up before? All right, moving on to agenda item 15, reports from councilors. Let's see, I guess we start with our junior member, Councilor Berkowitz. Anything to report there?
I just want to say thanks to the city crew, getting ready for the 4th of July. They're doing a great job, helping set up, be mindful for the public, parking is changing because of the roads, of course. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Thanks for repairing potholes last month. They're looking great. And thanks for giving me the opportunity to be here in the council. Thank you guys.
All right, thanks for that report, Councilor Hanson.
Just a reminder, if you missed the beginning, the library will be closed tomorrow for repairs that are needed on the roof again. But they will be open on the 3rd, and they've got quite a few events planned for adults and a lot for the kids, so on the 3rd. So get your kiddies over there so they can take part. Also, another reminder, the Downtown Beautification Committee will be meeting again we meet the second Tuesday of the month in City Hall, Council Chambers at 9 a.m. And we're starting to really narrow things down about what this downtown area can look like, or probably will look like. So it's, as soon as we can get artist renderings of when we make some decisions, we'll get it out where people can see it. But if you want to know where we're at and what we're discussing and stuff, it's an open meeting. We welcome any input. So that's Tuesday the 15th is the next meeting, 9 a.m.
Thank you, Councilor Hanson. Councilor Gossage.
Yeah, the HRA ended up with 8 mini grants this year, one from the last time I reported. There's one still pending. We're waiting for some documentation coming on that one. So we'll probably close it out at 9 this year. Luke did a great job in covering off on the warming house community center type setup down at the park. anybody's willing to donate, we certainly are taking donations, for that building, but we have quite a few secured and willing to go with that, but always open to suggestions if you got off at City Hall. I think that's it.
Thank you. Counselor Hess?
Not really anything.
Well, of course, unusual turn of events. All right, well, thank you for those reserved comments. Let's see, as mayor, then I also will be briefer than usual. I think probably the most significant to share was the fact that the deputy clerk and I both attended the Leading Minnesota's annual conference in Duluth, 3 days, which was an amazing opportunity both to share some of the experiences our city is going through, but more importantly, perhaps to get a sense of the pulse of other municipalities all over the state, what kinds of concerns they have, what kinds of projects are in the works, and how each of them is, in some cases, more innovatively, others trying to solve the common problems we have. There was a lot of focus, and maybe the deputy clerk can supplement me, but a lot of focus on essentially building communications with the communities, an era of civility, acceptance of ideas, and generally trying to encourage sort of communication and fiscal responsibility too, but the motivational speakers, as always, at the conference, and their cheerleaders, they were quite effective, and just there were about 800, I think, cities that were represented there, so it was a very good cross section, not just to the small rural communities, but or not 800 cities, I shouldn't say that, there were 800 participants in the conference from a variety of cities. There are, about 870 or something cities in Minnesota, but a good portion of them sent representatives, and I'd certainly encourage other counselors as the opportunities arise. I talked to Councilor Berquist about the fact that the league does sponsor usually more in like the February period, following the election period, say an orientation for the counselors. And I don't know, Councilor Clausage or Hanson, if you haven't gone through them, those two might be additional opportunities to do deep dives there. East Range Drake, Howard's board, I think the one takeaway on there is they're beginning a study of feasibility, considering a joint fire district, possibly in conjunction with ambulance services, consistent with some legislative concerns over the last session and the question of financing them, particularly from those areas and jurisdictions that are served but don't contribute to shouldering the costs. So that's due to the consultant there, North Spain, is due to get some more detailed reports back to the Joint Powers Board at its meeting later this month. East Range Water Board, the project continues to move on budget, on time. White Lakes has taken actions to commit to join the project, including enlisting the services of an engineering firm. I think Bolton Bank is on board for that and is beginning to sort of lay out the financial plan commensurate with their assessing what the costs are going to be, but going into the next legislative session. And the one takeaway by the legislative session for those that I think we all know now that the Public Facilities Authority's program called the Water Infrastructure Program did get authority to give us more money for the joint water project, both the city of Aurora and White Lakes, but there was a glitch in the wording of the statute, so that we may have to go back and do a little fine tuning to enable the city's indebtedness for that project, along with the town-wide, to be reduced down to the affordable level that we had targeted. And there are a couple avenues by which we think Other than that, I think it's appropriate to comment that this will be our city administrator's last meeting. He's moving on as of July 4th, right, to join Bolton Make Engineering firm in private capacity. And I think we'll have some events to more fully express the appreciation and everything. But I think as the council, without getting into today's agenda and everything else, that I hope I speak for everyone here that this has just been unique, kind of personal times for all of us. Sorry, I'm getting old and I can't control my emotions. But Luke is just a stellar individual who's had a profound impact on helping all of us confront and create the opportunities that the community is facing. It's poised for a dynamic period in the community. And I think Luke's looking forward to a dynamic period in his new career there. And we'll have some matters that we'll bring up shortly related to dealing on an interim and then ultimately a final replacement basis. But just know that you have the profound thanks of all of us for everything you've done. Maybe at the end too, if we can get a photograph. So, sorry to get teary-eyed, like I say. Get older, go through a few medical crises, and your personal control varies a little bit there. So that's the mayor's report. Moving on to the agenda is 17, old business. We have no business there. Consistent with the suggestion of the city administrator, I'd ask the council leave to perhaps proceed to agenda item 18.3 first, relating to the report of the hiring committee and its recommendations regarding the city administrator position.
Doug, I actually think a lot of these people in the audience are here for the cannabis registration. So do you want to do that on the 19th or?
Okay, all right, thank you. I think that should be clear, yeah. So moving then to 18.1, cannabis registration review. Who's going to lead that discussion?
Jordan and I can talk about that, but in your packet materials, you'll see, which it was the only packet material necessary for this agenda meeting, but everything that was provided by Rich Erickson, who's in the audience today, who approached the city. He was the first one to approach the city for a conditional use permit as well as a cannabis registration through us to bring in a micro business in the old Evergreen building or the really old Greenwich Lumber building. So a public hearing was conducted at the last planning and zoning meeting, and ultimately a conditional use permit was recommended to council, of course, to be approved contingent on the owner providing some responses to questions that our chief of police had. And Jordan can talk more about this, but Jordan and Rich had met and addressed all questions, and Rich had ended up sending those responses back to Jordan via email, which are provided in your packet materials today. But Jordan, I think, from my understanding, but you can speak on his behalf, but got all of his questions answered and kind of is comfortable with it, knowing that this is a new experience for all of us. I think we're kind of our concerns or our, initial, or I guess, final thoughts walking away from that meeting. So, Jordan, anything else I'm missing or?
No, again, we actually did a site visit on the outside of the building. We talked about security measures, we talked about improvements, we've talked about a lot of different things, all of which are up to state standards, up to even just improving that building, which is going to be an amazing asset or amazing improvement for everyone here. All looks good.
And then Rich, if you'd like to talk, I included everything you had sent via email, but if you'd like to talk, our council has a few questions for him regarding this, but I went at the conference that Mayor's referring to, I went to the cannabis one, which really is ultimately repetitive, but just with a few legislation changes that came about this last session. So unfortunately, the state increased the cannabis tax that Rich will now see when he starts his business, but took away the local percent that will come back to us. So there's actually nothing. So we have been instructed, Jordan has been instructed as well, to track all the work that we are doing, and that will be tracked through the league. They are going to send their lobbyists, and we will send our lobbyists as well to get that back.
So they took away all of the.
All of it's gone. So they
I
went from
heard that it was gonna
10%,
be reduced. Yeah.
went from 10% with 2 returning locally to 15% and none that returning locally. So the state's getting all 15% now. So talk to your legislators, let them know that that's not okay. So, Jordan's department will track as well as we will track internally what we all have to do regarding work around with cannabis. So it's a learning curve for all of us, but I appreciate Rich being willing to kind of go through this process with us. I told him he was a guinea pig, but I think I'm the guinea pig as well in this. So just learning, and yeah, the Office of Cannabis Management has been releasing things as they develop and get employees. So we're just staying up to date. Mike has reviewed our ordinance that we approved last year. So everything's still ship-shape that way. But yeah, we're just kind of working through everything. And Rich has been very responsive and receptive to every question that we have. And yeah, I piggyback on Jordan. I think any improvements that voting or going improvements that the community will be able to see. But getting someone in commercially, of course, I think would be a benefit to the city as well. And Rich seems to be a very community engaged person.
So just out of curiosity, the state authorities in office is getting its act together essentially. Are they providing rather clear guidance on each of the points noted in Rich's written responses, or how fuzzy is that?
Responses to Jordan's questions?
Well, the Jordan questions were, I think, response to concerns that the chief had raised and maybe community individuals had raised, and certainly appreciated the length to which those were addressed. I'm just trying to get an idea to what extent is there a framework or a conventional knowledge kind of coming out of all these different businesses that are trying to set up similar operations, and whether that's being filtered through the cannabis office, or how information is flowing that way?
I would say yes. I think that most of Jordan's questions, or probably a large majority of Jordan's questions, were answered by Rich, stating that the state already requires and mandates this. There are things that we can deny this cannabis registration for, and then there's things that we cannot. So the state really has implemented most of the correspondence that you see regarding this registration specifically. The state already mandates. So Rich is already in the process of working on this, submitting to the state. So he had said that the local entity is kind of the first stop for him, but then the state will be the remaining stops. So this is kind of a preliminary almost, essentially. So it's not what he's submitting to the state. This isn't exactly, but this is the plans set to be sent to the state. So he's not going to send them the notebook piece of paper. I would assume he won't send that to the state, but that is going to be what he will send to the state. So to answer your question, yes, the state has regulated most of these questions that Jordan had, and Rich then provided all the correspondence accordingly.
Yeah, councilors?
Well, myself, in reading through all this, I have to commend you for being so proactive, and I know the state is kind of moving the line all the time. They haven't quite decided where they want it to end. But in reading through this, you've been in contact with the East Range Police Department, and you're taking care of business, and you're doing everything that is required of you at this point. And you seem willing to, work with the PD and work with the city. I think you've done a good job to this point. I hope it goes well for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's very thorough. I really appreciate John proposals, but just had one question. I think I got it, but it's still in discussion with the state on how to get rid of the wastewater and the stems or whatever you can't use. I mean, that's not gonna end up in our landfill, or does it? Do you know what that is?
Absolutely not. No, it's actually, they want you to compost it or incinerate it. It's all going through a metric system that the state monitors. That it's basically a seed to sale system. So they're gonna track from all your trim, all your seeds, every stem, everything's gonna be weighed, bagged, tagged and everything, and then put into that metric system which they monitor, so there's no waste. And then when there is any waste, they want you to fill it with an unusable material like soil or cement, something where nobody can get into the dumpster, which will be locked, which was one of Jordan's huge concerns was any waste or having access to any dumpster, any material that could be from the plant. So no, it's gotta be incinerated or disposed of. I was thinking about actually composting it to recycle it. So no, it won't be at anybody's reach or children or anything like that, so.
Yeah, I had a question or a concern about line with the city administrator's experience with breweries up in to ours. Are there constituent elements or treatment things that will go into our wastewater treatment system from the facility? And if so, what kind of controls or characters?
So I'm not a big proponent of nutrients. It's basically salts anyway that really are nutrients, but I'm usually a living soil kind of guy. So it's no different than watering a plant anywhere else. But they make these big trays that we'll have that are pitched that have the ability to catch anything that's like runoff or when you're excessive water when it comes out the bottom of your pot, and you would gather that up, put it in like an IBC tote, and then dispose of it properly. So yeah, I'm not planning on dumping anything down the drain.
Okay, so it's incidental at most, not a part of the process. The other thing was I was concerned about the charcoal filters. We've had some education on that in relation to similar problems in a neighborhood. And I just wondering, is that for a cannabis production facility like that been tried and proven true as far as the ability to keep the fumes, odors and things going out into the community? And if so, is there certain standards that are developing as to how much per volume of air or something? If I were a neighbor, I'd be concerned, I guess, of what potential off-gassing might come into the neighborhood. How do the filters, how are they designed is it to mitigate or eliminate?
Pretty much both. So the industry standard is active carbon filters, and they're in like the 90% effectiveness. So a lot of these states are like California, they have big facilities that are, commercial and near residential, and they've been doing this for 10 plus years. So we have a closed room system where it'll have like an exhaust room or a lung room that will, if anything comes from that room, say if the temperature spikes or humidity, and we would kick on a control fan and it would be thrown through those active carbon filters that are in a service interval. So they usually like 3 to 12 months, depending on how much you use them. But our room is going to be a closed room because we're adding CO2. So we don't want any air to essentially escape as much as possible. So any air that would come out is going to be filtered. So
good, that's reassuring. Appreciate that. Let's see, just one other question. Did I read correctly that what's before us as a council is a response to the proposed conditional use, but the actual ability to begin production or proceed with the business plan is contingent upon state approval, that it could be as long as 17 months from now?
So the conditional use was a part of the consent agenda, so we'll proceed with planning and zoning's recommendation for that. But the cannabis registration, which is when Rich reaches out to the stage, or when they then reach out to me after that process, I can say, yep, he went through the steps to get us to say, yep, it's okay. So the conditional use permit, that's kind of from an attorney standpoint, from what I understand, from how my attorney explained it, that's the only thing that we can, as local entities, we can regulate is the zoning regulations for cannabis within our city. There's really nothing else that we can say yes or no to. So we amended our zoning regulations last year, 2 years ago now, to reflect that. So that was the planning zoning's conditional use permit. That's what they are approving. But we as the council, you still have to do the conditional use permit just based on how land regulations go. But this is just for if the state reaches out, now we can say, yep, he's gone through the planning and zoning, he has planning and zoning approval, everything else is good to go. So this is just saying when it comes, I can sign away for it.
All right, so our approval of the consent agenda approved the
The
planning
conditional-
commission's recommendation of
Yep.
conditional use permit.
Correct, but not the cannabis registration, which is the 18.1 step.
That's clear for everybody on the council, but that's what we're doing here.
Perfect.
Just out of curious, those in the audience that might have concerns about this, first of all, do they have copies of the written response?
It's a part of, it's at the front of the,
In front of you?
Right.
Okay, so in case if any of you were concerned with that, it goes on for many pages and addresses a lot of issues. And, Chief, after you read these, you feel all of your questions or concerns were addressed, or?
Sufficient, yes.
All right,
Yeah.
that's reassuring. So, that was good that all this preliminary discussion took place. So, it's a bold adventure for everyone concerned. Rich, I can sympathize with kind of a moving target, right? Of the regulatory scheme anyway, and at least there's time to prepare the business plan, right? So, based on that, then do we as a council, other than having this discussion, well, first of all, I should invite, are there any members of the audience that are appearing here on this issue, on the cannabis facility proposal, that would like to express any comments or concerns? Do we have some standards for that? But first of all, anybody, just raise your hand if you're here for that purpose. All right, I gather not. And then to clarify for the council, is there any further action we need to take other than this discussion?
we can approve the cannabis registration to proceed as, when the state communicates with me that we are good to go with that, moving into the old Evergreen building.
Okay, subject to the conditional use provisions and the representations in these materials, right?
The conditional use permit will stand as its own, so he'll get that, and that will be in our records for that property specifically. But then for this business, now for Rich Erickson, we'll say, yep, we can approve his registration when the OCM reaches out to me.
Okay. Is there a motion to?
I move we approve the cannabis registration.
I'll say.
All right, moved by Councilor Hanson, supported by Councilor Hess. Further discussion? Anyone? Any last comments by the administrative staff? All right, if not, this is something voice vote, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries, and good luck with your further dealings of the state regulatory authority. So. All right, getting back to our agenda. All right, for now, I think it'd be appropriate to change the agenda because of the fact that the agenda item 18.2 is project signatures. So first, if the council is agreeable to change the order of business here to consider agenda item 18.3 first. All right, so no objection on that. Let's see, you should each have in front of you a copy of the report that the Administrative Recruitment Committee has provided along with some recommendations. Everybody have that? Pardon? Yeah, all right. So just maybe for the benefit of anybody in the audience, we've formed a committee to deal with filling the vacancy created by our city administrator's resignation. The deputy clerk has posted the availability of that position in the usual media places, and the only difference from the normal procedure, there was no closing date or deadline specified by the council when we approved the advertising for that position. So the committee proceeded to meet to consider the issue, try to solicit information from the League of Minnesota Cities on individuals who are experienced administrators in retirement who might be able to stand in for a while a permanent replacement is found. And we were proceeding to consider some recommendations that actually were received from the League of Minnesota Cities when on Friday, June 27th, or actually before that, one of our committee members, Dave Skelton, received word from Iwabi's retiring or resigning city administrator that he was willing to serve as an interim administrator for our city. Jeff Jacobson is his name, and he gave his notice, I think it was it before or after? After our city administrator gave his notice, he gave his notice to the city of Iwabi that his last day would be July 9th. So they in turn are also going to be pursuing a replacement. And then we had a committee meeting on the 27th where we met personally with Mr. Jacobson, and two of us had worked with him for a long time on the committee, and but Jen Baker and Bob Hanson were really unfamiliar with him, so we tried to delve as extensively as one can in an interview into the background, and Councilor Hanson can correct me, but basically what I think impressed us to feel that he could step into the interim position was he's been 18 years as the city administrator in Iwabi for some tumultuous times, a lot of municipal works projects in terms of I think what they say, 90% of the streets have been rebuilt, Councilor Hanson, something like that. And I guess none of us were aware of any performance issues in the way he's been the city administrator, and he indicated that he was looking for new challenges. That was the motivation for going on, no ill will toward the city of Iwabi, or not back from the city toward him. And it looked like a unique opportunity for us. We had gone over the interim administrator list and just had concerns about a number of them, and would have to whittle down what were about, 10 names or something?
At least, yeah.
Yeah, at least a fewer. So after those discussions and interview and carrying into them the personal knowledge of Mr. Jacobson, a few of us, we as a committee voted unanimously to recommend that the council take the following actions as listed there. Number one, to establish a deadline now by which applications for the posted city administrator position must be filed with the city clerk's office, and this day would be the earliest date, hopefully, the city administrator deems feasible and appropriate, and possibly as early as July 9th. We're looking at some timetables, and maybe we can see how the council wants to react as far as getting some input from the administrator on these points. But number two was that the candidate, meaning Mr. Jacobson, be appointed as Aurora's interim city administrator effective for a term not to exceed 60 days unless otherwise subsequently determined to be appropriate by the council at an hourly rate of compensation equivalent to an annual salary rate of $110,000 per year, which was within the range of what posted and approved for the position as a council, and with compensation also for the amount of the candidate's COBRA. I can't recall what that acronym stands for necessarily, but essentially continued insurance coverage premiums during his period of service as the interim administrator here. He had been covered by an insurance policy through the city of Wyoming as an employee. He has those rights to continue for, was it 6 months or something? I think there's provision of the COBRA law. And that an interim contract for such services be prepared as needed in consultation with their city administrator and city attorney, and negotiated as soon as possible with the candidate to hopefully enable there's a little bit of a gap between administrator who was leaving and the time when this committee would come on. The third point, the committee be instructed to receive and review all applications received by the posting deadline that is established, and thereafter provide the council with the earliest feasible opportunity with a recommendation or recommendations for a candidate for appointment as the permanent city administrator. So I went on at length because this is a big move for us, and then the four-letter B, the council take other further action as deems appropriate. Councilor Hanson, anything I've left out?
If I could make a point, Mr. Mayor, one of the other things that the committee considered, this candidate approached us and kind of fell out of the sky. Not only is he experienced in the position and familiar with the type of things that are going to be going on in Aurora over the next, right now and in the future. He's familiar with the area, but a real cost savings to the city if we went to the League of Minnesota Cities and brought in an interim from their list, they kind of bench. We're paying per diem and we're paying probably lodging and maybe mileage. So this candidate is local and would be the savings on those items to the city for that interim position. So we had to consider that as well.
And I know, question one, when we were looking at the League of City people, we're talking maybe 2-3 days that the person would be here versus 5. Does this person indicate that he worked 5 days?
Yeah, I think he's perfectly willing to just jump into action.
We really didn't discuss it. But
Yeah, but I don't think anything his remarks suggested that he wanted to do a part-time basis with any predictable personal leave time or anything. So, yeah, so it's and it would be in person as opposed to what Mike I think one of you was saying, the Zoom consultations and some matters with interim administrators otherwise if they pay for the located place.
We need to clarify that with this, that he would do right.
Let's see, and the application was turned into the city clerk's office. I know, let's see, I think you made some copies, didn't you, within Wednesday or not? No. Anyway, if there was some reason someone wanted to take some time to look over the application, I'm just assuming that it documented what we know anecdotally and by his statements of the nature in terms of his service to Maui. Let's see, I assume like all other city employees that were otherwise, we have to go through some background checks or is that necessary for an interim position like this?
I would do it if you're a city employee, I'd say yes.
Yeah.
I
Well,
always found it past it because it's involved and due diligence.
I think he's a well-known individual, so I don't know, but I'm sure those issues could be kind of addressed in consultation with the city attorney's office. So it's a difficult situation to be dealing with, as indicated earlier. It's a huge gap to fill. It's an exciting time in the city, but this unique opportunity seemed to come up to give us time to give thorough consideration and opportunity for others to apply and for us to continue on seemingly without any significant interruption, realizing that the city administrators leaving on July 4th, and the earliest this individual could come on board So, any more questions? I mean, it's a big move and just,
Just, since we have a few actions to take on this one, should we set a date to close applications, maybe July 11th, because that would be a full 30 days from the original posting of the job application?
would that be
Does
feasible?
that make sense? Or do we have, is there any requirement for that?
I would consult with Mr. Carney on that one.
Well, I when did you post it for?
So it's
There was an
open-ended
open-
There was an open-ended posting before, so,
HR.
Yeah. and, Deputy Clerk,
Oh, so it was set for July 4th already?
Not by council, but HR requires one, so in order to post, so I had one.
So there's
Oh.
posting date of July 4th.
That, yeah, I did, it's just for the actual posting itself,
Can
so.
we change that beyond?
You can change it, yes, like I can create a whole new
I think that given the time of year, we should extend it beyond the 4th.
yeah. The suggestion was the July
Okay,
11th.
July 11th would give a full 30 days from the original posting date, because if you posted it June, that's June 11th first, right?
Yep, it went on at 10, yes.
Yeah, it did go out on the 10th, so like June, July 10th, so yes. Give us 30 days. If you count June 10th was the first day.
Let's see. I'm just trying to figure too, all right, so then, if these suggested actions are taken, the committee would then begin, probably being able to consider starting the week of the 14th, right? And then, depending on how things progress there, the matter could be brought to the council, maybe a special meeting, if necessary.
Does the
We have the second meeting of the month on
15th?
15th, yeah. That'd be a little tight there for committee consideration, but boy, it's not without precedence for us to meet specially, so I'm assuming we can let the determinations of the progress dictate when we can consider again. So let's see. City attorney, with their 4 or 3
Well,
suggested.
the first one is, the councilor indicated probably, extend the, to the date I heard, the 11th, is that what you wanted to do?
And close the business on the 11th? That seems to work, all right. So was that a motion, Councilor?
Sure, I'll make a motion to close the advertising of the current administrator position on July 11th.
All right, and supported by Councilor Hanson, further discussion on that. And that works administratively then? Okay, good. All right, so with that in mind, we see no further discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, so we have a deadline date. 11. Moving on to the committee's recommendation number 2, candidate, in this case, Mr. Jacobson, be appointed as an interim to serve for a term not to exceed 60 days at rated compensation on an hourly basis, commensurate with $110,000, which is $5,000 under the ceiling we have provided, and with compensation for the amount of the candidate's COBRA premiums during this term of service. I guess I can make that motion, right? I'll make that motion. Is there support?
Yeah, I'll support it.
All right, supported by Councilor Hanson. Both of us being on the committee, we have knowledge of the situation there, so appreciate that. But concerns from other councilors?
I have concerns, I won't vote for him.
Okay.
Okay, that talks in circles, you'll never get an answer.
All right, appreciate
I won't vote for him.
other comments or concerns?
I just, I know there was a question about,
Maybe somewhere there's a smell here, I gotta figure out where it is.
number of days he worked, and I think part of that's covered in his hourly rate for his salary. And I do think we should add, the compensation for the COBRA maybe should be prorated based on number of days he works.
I think we should also know what it's gonna cost.
Well, yeah, we haven't seen that figure yet. But I do think if say he's working 50%, his wages will reflect that, but we shouldn't pay 100% of the COBRA. We should pay an equal percentage based on the number of days that he's working on his COBRA. So I'd like to change that to, we could say compensation in the equivalent amount of our amount. Hours worked or percentage worked, or somehow.
How does the Cobra premiums get
They're
addressed?
gonna be paid monthly.
Yeah, they're monthly.
But
Okay,
if he's
so,
working 3 days a week, we only pay 3/5 of the COBRA.
Exactly.
If he's working five
Yeah.
days a week, we pay the whole month's
Right.
COBRA.
and adjusted too for a partial month.
Right.
Yeah,
If
that's
he
all.
starts on the 15th, we pay for half of it.
I do think he will have health benefits through the month, and he need to start paying COBRA in August. So it's just turning the month midway through the month.
So any suggestions on amendment language?
Well, I think the council wanted about 5 days a week, that's kind of what I thought, if it's 5 days a week,
We
then
hadn't discussed that, I guess.
That would be my preference.
Yeah, I would think it's going to be difficult for anybody stepping into the position that either too much time.
We've made clarification from him how much he's gonna work, but also we haven't seen a figure on what his COBRA's gonna cost.
Yeah, I agree, because I mean, we did agree to cap the original compensation to $115,000, because COBRA's $9,000 a month. You know, that's gonna be over that $115,000 cap.
Is that a possibility?
COBRA's expensive from what I remember.
so family plan, I don't know, there's 2,500, 3,000.
He's on a single plan.
You could make the motion that the month compensation would not exceed monthly. It's as simple as that.
Total compensation.
Total compensation will exceed.
Okay, so the original motion with the condition that in no event shall the monthly, shall the total amount of compensation paid exceed $115,000. And I, as a movement, motion, I make that change, which we second that. Yeah. All right,
So to clarify,
I'm sorry.
your motion is to set out hourly salary wage based off the 110,000.
Yes.
And then COBRA payments would not exceed the more $5,000.
So moving to that motion, I accept that as a friendly amendment, and from Councilor Hanson, that we're comfortable with that too. All right, so we have the amended motion on the table, and Councilor Hanson, any comments from other councilors? All right, if not, call for a vote on it, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. All right, so, the vote is 4-1. And I hope the city attorney can work with us to put together some kind of a minimum contract. The contract, there may be one available for the league itself.
There should be somewhere something that
Yeah, that can work with that. Moving on to committee recommendation number 3, committee be instructed to receive and review all applications received by the posting deadline and thereafter provide the council with the earliest opportunity with a recommendation or recommendations for a candidate as a permanent city administrator. Is there a motion to authorize the committee to do that? Moved by Councilor Berkwood, supported by
I'm on the committee.
Councilor Clausage. Further discussion or questions on the committee with those responsibilities?
Any other modifications?
4, 5, support. What's that? Deputy Secretary. Say aye. Opposed? All right. Councilors, anybody else? Yes. There's bad action added. Agenda item 18.2, project signatories. We have some explanations on that.
Yep, so currently right now, I'm signing, change orders, and there's, also we're signing with the project. So I guess, what the, declared, from your administrator, just move that you, be willing to sign, maybe, he already granted that.
So I would make sure it's coming out from council.
Do we have an issue with the gap, the gap?
Yeah, we should have a deputy clerk, I assume, is.
I would think we could hold off on the period of 5 days for signing. There's nothing to be pressing on that.
What about today, that one was talking about?
So that's right done. Yep. Lindsay's in the period, signature notice, you can sign. Just the project, if a change order comes up or moving things along.
So the council's action then would be to authorize the interim administrator to sign basically whatever the city administrator now.
Yes.
Sign. Is there a motion for that?
How's the insurance? City administrator do the same.
All right, that's the purpose support by Councilor Hess. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we have that taken care of. There are no other signatory matters that we have to consider, right? Okay. I believe that concludes the first 3 items of new business. Are there any other items that we should be considering?
None of that.
All right, if not, let's see, our next scheduled meeting is July 15th at 5 o'clock for the agenda setting meeting, and at 5:30 for the city council meeting. And with that, I entertain a motion to adjourn. Councilor.
Do we need to stay in session, are we voting on this?
So no, right now we'll recess out of this, and then we'll adjourn this.
Yep, so we'll call the session now.
Okay, so a motion to recess.
No, adjourn. We're adjourning.
We're adjourned.
Yeah, we're only adjourning during this, yeah.
Yep. Motion to adjourn.
All right. So Councilor Hanson moves. No, Councilor Berkowitz moves to adjourn, supported by Councilor Clausen. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned then.